Daniel, thanks for accepting this interview. It's good to be with you today. Let me start with my first question. What made you want to pursue architecture?
So at a young age, it was more like I was always playing with Legos, and that's every kid's answer when they go into architecture. It's like, yeah, I played with Legos, I played in Minecraft, but that wasn't completely the entire journey. Throughout my childhood, my family did a lot of construction on our house. So growing up, like the age from 6 to 13, my house was getting doubled in size. They did a 3-story renovation and addition to the house. So there was excavators in my backyard throughout my entire childhood. At one point, I thought I wanted to go into excavation and use the big machinery, but then being able to create whatever you wanted in architecture and then back those ideas doing research was really like what brought me to it. And understanding that at a young age, seeing it be done and seeing like the reward of building bigger and better. It what got me started for sure. And then once going into high school, I really took a lot of like computational classes where I was learning like AutoCAD, and then I was just like modeling my own house in AutoCAD, and it just from there on, I really enjoyed it.
And how would you say your understanding of architecture evolved since you started your journey?
It's been complicated, going from high school where it's like you really think architecture has no limits, but then once you actually go to college, they teach you the design process, how you're making space out of like a whiteboard, and there's really no direction to it. You have to set those parameters for yourself. So when beginning the journey, you're completely lost. Like the first year of architecture is absolutely the hardest year there is. They weed you out in the first year. 95% of the students that go into architecture leave, So once you get past that stage where you really understand to build the foundation and where to set the parameters for your projects, from then on, you're able to pursue architecture and actually build something that's personal to you that also speaks to the community. And through that journey, you learn more about yourself as well. So it's a great tool to learn about yourself. It's also great for the environment, and you're helping a lot of people along the way.
What is the most unexpected or surprising thing you've learned since you've been here at GSAPP?
Probably the most unexpected was how international our program was. Really understanding everyone in our program was such an unexpected element coming to this school. We have people from almost every continent, and it's 98% international, just the AAD itself. So it's like when you come here and you're a student here, you get to talk to everybody around the world. You get to understand where they come from.
Yeah.
So that was really probably the most interesting fact about GSAPP, and also the most unexpected fact at the same time, because I had no idea. I went to school in New York my whole life. I went to New York Institute of Tech for my undergrad, and there, we've had international students, like maybe like 40%. But when you're 1 in 3 Americans in the entire program, it shows. It definitely shows.
Where did you study?
New York Institute of Technology. Yeah. I got my 5-year bachelor's of architecture. Here in New York, it's different. I know a lot of other countries, you're able to graduate and then you are already like licensed once you get your degree. Here, you have to have almost the exact hours are 3,740 hours of like actual working in the profession. And then you need to take 6 exams. Yeah. So it's a longer process. So doing the internships throughout your undergrad is so beneficial. Yeah. Definitely start earlier, because once you graduate, like now, I have more than half of the hours. Mm-hmm. So just a little bit more. And when you start taking exams, and you can be licensed like 1 year out of school. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Good advice. What's the biggest lie you've been told about becoming an architect?
Everyone says it's the money. which is probably the biggest lie we ever get told. Also, the perception people see on architects is another lie. Like, a lot of people think of architects as they're able to control the world. They're able to change whatever they want. It's not us changing it. It's the clients that want to change it. So we don't hold that power unless you're like a star architect and Robert Moses. Right. Unless you're them, you're not going to be able to change much unless the client wants to change it. So the power is not all you. And then also you don't get paid for your time that much. There's so many firms. I think there's only like maybe a handful of firms that pay overtime. And almost in every other profession, you'll see that getting paid overtime. Nurses, doctors, lawyers, they all get paid overtime. And we'll be in the office till 2 a.m. and we clocked out at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
So it's a hard profession, but going forward and meeting everyone I've met, I feel like we will be able to change that and we'll be able to bring more value to what architects hold now.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully it doesn't remain one of the most underpaid jobs.
For the amount of work we do, for sure. But in reality, we do get paid above average.
Yeah.
But we work a lot harder than most professions.
If you could have designed one iconic building in a different way, which one would it be? Which one would you choose?
The iconic building would probably be like the Empire State Building. It's a big signifier of New York itself. Mm-hmm. But when you're looking at it and you see it for the first time, you're like, wow, it's a really ugly building. But no one will say that.
Yeah,
no one will say that. But yeah, I'd probably change the design of the Empire State Building. It's just rectangles put on rectangles and then a point at a time. Like, I get it. It was made very early on, and I'm from New York. So, but like, we gotta have a better signifier of New York.
What are your career plans after graduating from GSAPP?
That's a really good question. There's so many avenues. Coming to GSAPP and learning about all the different avenues you can go in architecture, it's up in the air. Like, coming out of my undergrad, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to get my master's and build skyscrapers. Yeah. That was the plan. And that still is partially the plan. Like, I'd say 80% of the plan is still trying to get into a firm that does mainly skyscrapers. But you can do anything. Like, graduating GSAPP, I could start my own for studying skyscrapers and trying to produce clients that want to renovate their skyscrapers or whatever. But there's so much more to it. Mm-hmm. But as of right now, I have interviews lined up for firms that do skyscrapers, firms that I'm really open to everything. Mm-hmm. In this profession, it's so competitive. You can't choose where you want to go. Mm-hmm. You know, it's really, really, really hard for you to get everything you want in architecture. You know, there's give and take. You could get into a firm that does amazing skyscrapers. Yes. But in the beginning, you'll be put on the bathrooms. You know, like, it works like that. So just getting in is the first start. And that's what I'm working towards now.
Can we jump on that skyscraper thing for a little bit? Like, why skyscrapers? Why not something else?
It's such a lame answer. It's just because I'm from New York. Like, I'm not from the city, but I'm from Long Island, and throughout my childhood, we visited the city all the time. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I was just able to live in the city. Mm-hmm. Like, I felt more like where I was supposed to be in the city as a kid than at home. I just loved looking up in the air and be like, wow, that's like, it inspired me because it's like, you're making a mark on the skyline. Mm-hmm. You see how the Empire State Building really shapes New York City. It's like, if you make a skyscraper, people will know who you are. People will know who you work for. Or if you are a star architect, they will know you. You know, everyone knows SOM. You know, they build some of the most amazing skyscrapers of the Burj Khalifa. So, like, I think it's the fascination of building as high as possible and also my belief is that's the only place to really go. The more and more we produce humans, there's going to be no more land to build on. The only two places you go is either water or further up in the air. So yeah. I believe going taller is better. It's up for discussion.
We're going to go into our last question. Any advices you would give to a high school student who would want to pursue architecture?
I'd say reach out to everyone you find doing something that you want to do. That person that is in the school, in the program that you want to go to, send them a message on LinkedIn. Like, try to contact them. Because I've had students from my high school text me about architecture. And it was really, I was able to give them my experience, and then they were more interested or not. They knew exactly what they were getting into. You know, it's not easy. Yeah. It is really, really hard to get started. Mm-hmm. But if you start early and try to understand it, you'll be set up easier for going into it because you'll know what to expect already. And if it's not for you, you go the other direction. Mm-hmm. You know, I wish I knew early on how hard it was and some of the implications of like working till 2 a.m. almost every day for studio in the morning, or even going overnight almost every week, like to make a deadline. So it's understanding it at an early age and knowing what you're getting into, I think will only make your chances of staying in it and becoming an architect and really enjoying it better.
I sort of want to add one more question that's off script, but I think based on our conversation, I think it really makes sense. Are you thinking about opening your own firm on the short term, or would you see yourself working for an architecture firm for at least 2-3 years and then thinking about it again?
This was always the dream. Like opening your firm for a lot of people is like a lot of driven people just say they're going to open now, like one day. But it's so hard. You have to know everything about the business. The only way to know everything about the business is if you're grown up into it. Your parents owned an architecture firm or your family owned it. My family's completely medical. So they had no idea. They didn't even know what like this consisted of. Yeah. They knew like, architects build buildings, but they didn't know any of the other stuff that goes with it. Yeah. So opening the firm, my plan would be to work in a firm for a decade or two, really learn everything possible, make a name for myself. And then they always say, don't open it when you're ready. Open it 5 years before. Yeah. So it'd be really hard for you to leave your job and start something new. But sometimes you got to take chances. Maybe it'll work out.
All right, Daniel, thanks for accepting this interview. It was great.
Thank you.